So today, lads, we're going to be talking about Sydney Colson, and she went on to Aaliyah Boston's podcast yesterday and talked about the kind of negativity that she received from being a part of the Indiana Fever. And we all kind of know that that's something that is happening.
Sydney Colson recently made a revelation that validates everyone's suspicions on the Indiana Fever. She acknowledged on Aaliyah Boston's show that she received more hate after joining the Fever than she had in her entire career. Her signing with Indiana was the only reason why people turned against her. Even a seasoned player who has always been well-liked around the league was stunned by the extreme criticism. Should WNBA players be hated simply for choosing to play for the Indiana Fever?
Whether I'm playing, we want things to look like what we want them to look like. And I knew coming into this season, once people started talking, once I was here and experiencing it, like, people had a lot to say. There was a lot of negativity.
Sydney Colson making an appearance on Aaliyah the WNBA surely wishes Boston's podcast hadn't revealed some shocking facts. Colson didn't sugarcoat the criticism she faced after joining the Indiana Fever. Instead, she spoke candidly about it. She acknowledged that, for the first time in her career, she was actively loathed by people, and that this was solely because she joined the Fever organization. That's an outrageous revelation that validates the struggles Fever players have faced during the season, which the majority have been reluctant to publicly discuss. Colson clarified that although she was aware that joining the Fever may draw attention, she wasn't ready for the degree of animosity she truly encountered. She claimed that people had generally appreciated her during her career. She is well known for being affable and humorous. Even when some others didn't find her humor amusing, it wasn't because they didn't share her sense of humor. Rather, it was a difference in taste. However, all of that was drastically altered by joining the Fever. She was now receiving waves of criticism from people who had never previously had an issue with her.
And I just looked at it like, I'm not used to this. Typically, I'm the person that people are just like, oh, we love Sid, that's funny, blah, blah, blah. Some people be like, not funny, and I'm like, they don't have a sense of humor. But like, for the most part, people have liked me and have admired me from the outside, but that's never made me do the things I do. Like, I do the things that I do because I enjoy my teammates, because I like comedy, because I like whatever I'm doing, not for other people's approval. So once I got here and was experiencing people's disapproval, it didn't really faze me because I still understood. I think I understood even more so.
The fact that Colson is a seasoned player with years of experience in the league is what makes her remarks so important. She has participated in games for several teams. She has encountered many circumstances in locker rooms. She is not a young athlete who has no idea what normal looks like. Therefore, it is credible when she claims that the hate she encountered after joining the Fever was unlike anything she had ever encountered. She has a point of comparison. Furthermore, the way that fans and other players reacted to her hiring makes the Fever scenario very poisonous. Colson clarified that nothing she did was the cause of the hostility. Her affiliation with the Fever was the only reason why people detested her. That's the main idea. She remained the same person. She didn't suddenly lose her charm or sense of humor. She didn't do anything problematic or contentious. The only thing she did wrong was sign a deal with Indiana. And that was plenty for everyone to absolutely despise her. That shows how deeply some WNBA fans and possibly other players despise the Fever.
Not liking you for no reason, I'm probably exactly where I need to be. So once the injury happened, I'm like, once again, this is something that I don't fully get, but this must be where I need to be, sidelined. And it made me an even more vocal leader. It made me pay attention to things maybe that I wasn't paying attention to that other people had going on. So I could be more tapped into if they're having a hard time and I need to come over here and help them out, whether it's mental, physical, whatever. I had to get outside of me. And that was the lesson that I learned in this. I hope it's the one that God wanted me to learn, but yeah, it was just one of those things that nobody wants that to happen, but you still have to move forward and figure out a way to still be, of service to yours.
The intriguing aspect is Colson's reaction to and processing of that hatred. She claimed that when she saw that others were criticizing her without cause, it really reassured her that she was at the right place. It's usually an indication that you're doing something well or that you're in a position that puts those who don't want you there in danger. Colson seems to realize that she was not the target of the hatred. It was about the significance of the fever and how the team's achievements jeopardized the established order that certain people are committed to upholding.
All know that that's something that's happening with all these players. Is like they're just not in any way happy as long as they have to publicly hate the fever. And you know, the only way you can get back into these people's good graces is by pulling a Dawana Bonner. By just not playing for the fever anymore, it doesn't matter. You have to pull a Dawana Bonner.
Additionally, Colson disclosed her sincere desire to play for the fever. She didn't sign this out of reluctance or as a last choice because she couldn't get a better deal. In particular, she desired to be in Indiana. She was fond of Kelsey Mitchell and likely discussed the team culture with her. She realized that she and Caitlin Clark would likely get along because they are similar individuals. She thought her personality and playing style would work well with the fever. That makes the hatred she was subjected to much more ludicrous. People penalized her for choosing Indiana because she wanted to be there. Colson's experience was further complicated by the fact that she had to deal with an injury during the season. She had to miss a lot of time due to a meniscus tear. In any case, it is annoying to be ignored when you have recently joined a new team and are attempting to make a name for yourself. However, it becomes much more difficult to deal with it while also being inundated with unwarranted animosity from supporters and potentially covert animosity from players on opposing teams. According to Colson, the injury made her an even more outspoken leader and made her more aware of her comrades' struggles in order to better encourage them. That remark about encouraging teammates is significant because it implies Colson understood that her feverish co-workers were also facing difficulties and negativity that might not have been apparent from the outside. She presented herself as someone who could support her teammates emotionally and psychologically during trying times. That's what a seasoned leader does, and the fever needed it. However, it also shows that Colson wasn't the only victim of the toxins aimed at the fever. Numerous players on the team were impacted, and they required assistance to cope with the unfair animosity directed at them. It's encouraging that Colson was prepared to publicly state that she was despised for no apparent reason. The majority of players avoid that fact. Some negativity will be acknowledged, but it will be minimized or explained away. Colson just explained it. Because she joined the fever, she was despised by many. Completely stop. There was no other explanation. This candor is crucial because it confirms what fever supporters have been saying throughout the season. The way fever players and supporters are treated is abnormal. It goes beyond simple rivalry or competition in sports. It's more intimate and ugly. Particularly intriguing is the similarity to Dana Bonner that is brought up in conversations about this. When Bonner recovered from the sickness, the animosity towards her abruptly vanished. Since she was no longer connected to Indiana, she was accepted back into the good graces of the larger WNBA community. This trend indicates that the hatred isn't genuinely directed at certain players or their actions. It concerns the fever organization in general and Caitlin Clark's affiliation with it in particular. When a player joins the fever, that affiliation taints them and makes them vulnerable to hate that has nothing to do with them personally. For fever players, this puts them in an impossible scenario. They are unable to prevail. If they succeed on the court, they are accused of taking advantage of favorable treatment or riding Clark's coattails. If they struggle, they are made fun of for being liabilities who hinder the team's progress or for not being able to keep up with Clark. They are accused of being phony or attempting to capitalize on Clark's notoriety if they support her or talk favorably about the team culture. They are accused of being envious or failing to support their colleague if they remain silent. Since the hatred is illogical in the first place, there is no way to appease the haters. Colson's remarks also demonstrate how the Fever have developed into the most divisive team in WNBA history. They receive more hate and love at the same time than any other team. Major market teams in other sports function similarly. You will be adored by your supporters and hated by everyone else if you play for the Lakers, Yankees, or Cowboys. The scrutiny and attention are increased. Every error is blown out. Every achievement is discounted or attributed to advantages rather than aptitude. Being on a team that matters more than others is like that. The distinction is that in those other leagues, joining the Divisive club is typically a decision that requires knowledge of what you're committing to. The players understand what it means to be a Yankee or a Laker. They are aware of the attention and strain that accompany it. The amount of attention and animosity the team receives is unmatched in WNBA history, so players in 2024 and 2025 may not have known what they were getting into in ways that could not have been entirely predicted. Clark's entrance completely altered what it meant to play for Indiana. Colson's remarks highlight a corrosive aspect of WNBA fan culture that is extremely detrimental to the league's expansion. Leadership must address the issue when players are unable to sign with particular teams without experiencing hostility and hatred for no justifiable reason. The WNBA ought to be commemorating the fact that one of its teams has grown to be so well known and significant that it attracts widespread attention. Rather than growing behind a well-liked team and player, some fans appear to desire that the league remains small and specialized. It is especially upsetting for Colson to discover additional derogatory remarks and insults aimed at her for joining the Fever. It goes beyond simply disagreeing with or criticizing her choices or playing style. It's insults and personal assaults that go beyond the bounds of appropriate conversation. People are discouraged from participating in the sport by that kind of toxicity. Instead of being thrilling and inclusive, it makes the WNBA appear petty and unwelcoming. The fact that their players are being treated in this manner should disgrace league executives, but there hasn't been much of an attempt to address or call it out. Another illustration of how illogical the anti-Fever feeling has gotten is the remark that Lexi Hull is also receiving hate. Hull is a diligent worker who fulfills her responsibilities. She doesn't use foul language or stir up controversy. But just by being on the roster and having a close friendship with Clark, she receives vitriol. That is ridiculous. Because they play alongside a celebrity, role players on well-known teams shouldn't be harassed. However, in the present WNBA atmosphere, being associated with the Fever and Clark in particular makes you a target. Colson's statement that she does what she does because she enjoys her comrades rather than for the approval of others is a good way to deal with unreasonable hatred. People who despise you without cause cannot control your decisions or make you unhappy. Colson is aware that the negativity reveals more about the individuals behind it than it does about her. She is confident enough in herself to acknowledge that and not allow it to alter the way she plays her part in the squad. Younger players may find it difficult to exhibit that level of emotional maturity in the same circumstance. Based on how the season unfolded, it is true that teams disregarded the Fever and paid for it. Because they bought into the myth that the Fever were merely Clark and a group of uncompetitive role players, some teams obviously undervalued Indiana and anticipated easy victories. When the Fever showed up and played hard, performed well, and won games they weren't supposed to win, those teams were ashamed. Teams that didn't properly prepare or take Indiana seriously lost games as a result of the blatant disrespect. The pattern became even more obvious once Clark was sidelined due to an injury. Those games were easily won by teams that showed up and gave it their all. Because the rest of the team was better than most people realized, teams that thought they would win easily without the star player frequently lost. That demonstrates that the Fever were more than a one-player team, but the story had already been established, and despite proof to the contrary, many teams and supporters refused to change their opinions. It's a good idea to use the following tab on social media rather than the For You page. Particularly the day following games, professional athletes really shouldn't be devouring sporadic self-criticism on social media. The algorithm's goal is to show you engagement, which frequently entails displaying the most negative and inflammatory viewpoints. Since those elicit responses, be wise switching to following. You will only see stuff from individuals you have choose to follow, which you may curate to be constructive rather than harmful. However, it is not practical to expect young athletes to stop using social media altogether in the present day. Social media networks are the foundation of their brands. Their social media presence and involvement frequently determine how valuable their endorsements are. They are supposed to communicate with fans and advertise their sponsors on the internet. For more real-time updates on WNBA business decisions, please like and subscribe.